Right. Perfect. Great. Onegaishimasu. All right, great. Super. Let's just loosen up a little bit. Great, just shaking out the hands a little bit. To the sides. Looking at a little bit of circle. Yeah, top. Yeah, go a little bit on this side. Grab on the back. Changing sides. Great, both in circles. And changing direction. And swinging from the shoulders to the back. And settling the feet down, swinging through, dropping into the knees. Working with the feet, one front to the other, just swinging the body front and back. Open the hip out as well at the front. Working both sides with it. Perfect. Rocking a little bit side to side. Oh, yeah. Great. And rotation. Okay, great. Just playing a little bit with the arms here, raising it up, sinking it down. Okay, great. And look a little bit inside, outside. Big way through the spine. But then here with the arms, just play with it, going inside but keeping the arms out straight, and just rolling right the way through the shoulders. And then as you open out, roll it out, open to the back. Just play with the kind of height of the hands, but you want to start to really open at the shoulders. They also would really curling, opening the spine up the top. Perfect, and then just using a kind of swimming motion with the arms. So working it out, roll it to the sides, pressing it through the center line. Great, and then reversing it all the way through the center line, and spreading that. Great, okay, similar idea, just working one side of the body, so you're just going to work this side, and you're going to kind of, in this case, think of first like a kind of box, you've got like an out, down, in kind of movement, so later you want to kind of make that into a kind of circular movement, but just the way to kind of start it, think about raising that hand, sending it away, dropping it, drawing it back. And keep the hand, pretty much the hand's going to stay in the center line of the body, so let the body kind of lead it. The center kind of lead it. Just have a little bit like you're doing this with just a little bit of resistance. Yeah. So perfect. Great, just play with it on both sides as well. So you've got up, out, down, towards, up away, down towards. So, great. So that just play with making this a little bit more specific to us, like in terms of what you want to think about now is like the 𝒂𝒄𝒄𝒿, so the 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂. Think again, you've got the, in this case, you've got a little bit of a down first coming in, but think about this kind of raise up, but you're also, in this case, we're also rotating through it. So you've got this movement at the same time as you rotate this. And again, the hips are kind of rotating, you kind of press out, press it down with it this way. You can focus on just one hand if you want, but you've got that sense of. So the ups here, you've got the out. And coming down. So as this becomes much more like a kind of circular movement. Just play with the idea as you kind of draw the hands up, pull the hands out, pull the hand down. You want to kind of correlate the movement with the hip work and the waist kind of rotating through that movement. That's it. Good. Nice. Right, just make a very, really slight change. So what you're going to work with now is rather than the 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 pilates, work with ketates. So there's a few variations of this that you can do, but the one that's a nice one is like where you're really working with a spiral through the joint. So if you think in this case you've got the hand here, you're trying to really spiral the hand out and then get out of the grip with it. So what you're doing in this one is like this spiral, this one, and at the same time this hand's coming in to connect. You come into this kind of position. And you're using now the spiral in the hand and the spiral in the hip with this hand connected is going to draw them out of the balance. And then from here, this movement's the same. You've just got that kind of specific entry, you've got this spiraling in, coiling, you take it, and then you apply the hip and come into this way. That's spiraling, spiral out to the back. Spiraling, spiral out to the back. Yeah. Yeah, this is pretty difficult to show. Just play with the feeling here is you want, again, the kind of center line to come in. So if you think of the Morotodori kind of coming from here, you want to kind of drop the center line in so that then the spiral has something, the spiral in the hand has something to kind of back it up. Case of doing this. It's the same movement, but this gets a little bit, it's a little bit shallower, and straight away you're starting to kind of spiral the body. So it's got less of a down move because I'm not trying to deal with both hands. I'm just trying to deal with the one. But what you want to think about in this case, that contact point, what I don't want to do is pull against it this way with the body. So what you want to do is just like enter the body in, keep that contact, and then as you spiral, that contact point just changes. So I'm not pulling against it, you're just changing the contact point on the wrist. So rather, if I pull it with the arm, you end up pulling this whole connection. But if you spiral, change the contact, you end up working with the kind of finer point, and then you just continue to kind of roll out of it. And then when you're at the point where the grips loose, so it's weakest, that's when you take it. I take the center line and then slide the hip into it. So just look for that case. And you don't, in this case, is like try and take it all with you, but kind of you want to kind of sharpen the hip into it. So it's like dang, that, and then that. And that comes out to the back this way. So you're cutting in with the hip in the hand. That's it. That's it. Right. Great. So we'll take this into a room now. So the same entry, or the same point of entry, that movement, but rather than now stopping the rotation here and then finding there, what you do with this foot is now you continue it, but use that same idea of kind of sliding that contact point. And then what you want to think about here is that kind of sharp edge of the arm, of the elbow, is going to shoot in with the hip. So as if you've got the person in front of you, as if you were striking them with the elbow this way. So you're coming this way, this, and then this arm kind of shoots to the back. And what I'm looking for that hand then is to take the collar of the person, or take the back of the neck. So you've got a kind of really sharp movement, but it starts with a spiral that way. So that's the spiral that comes in and then shoot to the back. So you got a big kind of entry right to the back, changing the direction at the same time, and then just take it up into that Uruminagi there. Really specific kind of hand work and hip work. Rolling in. So there's a game I usually play with this with the group. So what you want to do is this place becomes a kind of drill with it. The person's really coming for the hand. What you want to do is like escape from it and touch the person's spine with it. So imagine in this case, and kind of make it hard for each other. Imagine in this one, what you want to do is like capture the arm here, and at the same time you want to really shoot to the back of the person this way, and really kind of get to the back. So what that means is also that what I'm not doing is coming into this fan position with the body, and then trying to apply the 𝒂𝒂𝒏 here. So what you want to feel is as you come in, that you're also rotating, changing the direction totally. So imagine you want to get to the person's back and see the person's back totally as you come in. So the major teaching from 𝒂𝒂𝒏 is this entry and getting right to the back of the person. So a lot of time the 𝒂𝒂𝒏 fails is because I've actually only got to the side of the person, and I'm dealing with a structure that's here on top of the body. And they're really strong, so you want to feel that you're at the back of the person, where I can really destabilize them and then take them over with it. But just trying to imagine you're trying to, someone's in the room, I'm trying to get to the back of them. Get to the back of them. And this kind of sort of because it's like, I want to get to them, enter and get to the back of the person. Yeah, exactly. Great, we'll take it into a shionai. So you've got that same entry or the same spiral working with the arm. Slightly change the entry point now. So you're not going in so deep. What you're looking to do in this one is adjust that hip out. So you adjust the hip out. This hand comes in, and you're going to use now that spiral at this point. So this time you're working the joint this way into this kind of point. You're almost kind of enter into the back. This one's coming to the side, and then you want that spiral rotation here coming in from the ground. You're looking straight away to, once you've got to the side of them, break that whole structure. So rather than now entry to the back, you're trying to expose the person's back, and you're doing it from this point, this way. Just feel that as you come to the side, you go here, and then you've got an entry through the back that way, and then into the technique. One, shut them down. Big spiral. Great, let's head into a 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂. So again, you've got the same movement happening in the hands, different hip work. So you're gonna now, this is kind of a tricky one. There's a few variations for the 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂. So this one you kind of come up with it. Keep into this kind of hand work. What you're gonna do is as you spiral it, this backhand comes in and makes contact here. Now, as you spiral the hip this way, you keep the contact here, keep it with the center. Okay, it's really important now that I don't pull the hip. But again, just think about keeping this contact, And then as you rotate around, this hand's going to free itself and then take it this way. And then you continue into the so the spiral starts here with a very slight entry. This way, this comes in, traps, and then roll the hip. This shoots out, take it down. Here. There's a really kind of subtle entry there. Working the same principles just now. Where it's different angle now. Yeah, keep that spiral going, it will lead you into there. So if you think about this as a progression, you can do it obviously either way. I prefer in a way like going from 𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 you're like really going right to the body. And then the ōtagaishi is a kind of finer one because you're going to the end of the limb. But imagine what you're doing in this case, like if you go through your urinagi, you're trying to get into the point of the body and then apply the hip to the body this way. So in this case, you're working around the shoulder region, this kind of point, and the neck. And then the shionagi, what you're trying to do is get the structure of the arm. So mostly you're working the elbow. So you get into the elbow region and you're again applying the hips through it and then controlling. This one's a tricky one because what you're doing is you're using the arm as the lever. So the tendency in this one is to try and start to pull out the arm. But what you want to do is again, think about positioning yourself against with the hip against the joint. And then from here you can apply the weight through it. Once you've got the hip in place, this is kind of the teaching from one of the teachings from 𝒂𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏𝒂𝒏. That sense that you get the hips in place, get the center line, and then I can lead them out with the structure. So it's that same kind of idea. You've got once I've got the center in place, the hips in place, then I've got the combat. Now apply the hip through it, and then apply the hip through it. It's the same kind of sword work idea as well. Okay? Finding the center and kind of leading the hip through it. So you've got the center line here, then take it out, then take it out. Once you've got it, try and keep it. Don't move it back. So you've got like a deep entry in the urinary. You've got a kind of entry into the elbow, and then you've got an entry using the wrist for the cultivation. Right. So. Perfect. Great, just play a little bit freely now, and imagine you're kind of doing this lively, so in a kind of lively way. So you've got the arm out. Just play with this kind of spiral rotation. So it just depends on the kind of entry and how deep you're going with the contact, and that's really decided by what's happening with the partner. But in this case, just play with kind of free movement and a sense of the spiral, finding the movement. Just kind of see what comes up with it. So if you've got different techniques, you can even find the 𝒂𝒑 finding this kind of movement. This kind of way, but just play with that same idea. You're kind of rolling in the contact, getting the hips in place, working against the kind of weaker points of the body. So, the key thing now is that sense of kind of entry. Either it's a kind of shallow entry, or it's a deep entry like they're in the neck. But there's always going to be a slight entry into bringing the hips in. Rolling the hips in. Yeah. That's it. Okay, great. Take a walk-in. We will continue. Something more fun. Great. So we'll work this into a 𝒂𝒂𝒿 using that same kind of wrist flexibility. Just play with here, just rolling over the wrist. Rolling over the wrist. You can do this two ways. You can go inside the body, you can go outside the body. Use both hands on the sword, but use them kind of flexibly. So you want to first just get a feeling of flexibility through the wrist, that the joint's kind of open, able to move. Shoulders dropped kind of towards the back, as much as you can, and the elbows. Just get that feeling that they're kind of heavy. So a little bit of freedom, move around a little bit. Just feel that you can start to open the wrist out a little bit. So. Right. Sit. Great. Now, what you want to start doing, we'll start kind of connecting the center into it, or the hips into it in the way. So just don't worry about the wrist kind of flexibility now. But what I want you to think about is moving the tip of the sword, just kind of rolling the tip of it. So you just want to get a feeling that you're kind of circling the tip. And that the key thing here, think that you want to pass the movement so directly into the hand, into the sword. or yeah, even bypass the hand. I want to get the movement from the hip to the tip of the sword. So think like hip to tip, hip to tip, hip to tip, and you can do this both ways. The main thing you want to work on with this one, I try and work on with this also, is I don't want the shoulders to kind of activate into the movement. So I don't want the shoulders to start to kind of go into these kind of spaces. Obviously, you're going to use them later in terms of movement, but I don't want them to be, I don't want the shoulders to be driving the movements, or even the elbows in this one, or the wrists in this one. So you want those joints to be flexible, but you want them to be able to flex. You want them to think of the joints, you want them always to be open, because you want that movement to pass through them, pass through them, pass through them. So it's that same idea as we were doing just now with the Taijutsu. I want to pass that movement into the sword. And the sword gives me good feedback whether I'm kind of working that connection or not. Get pulled out, the joints get pulled out, or I try and settle in the hip. So it's quite a subtle kind of exercise. That's it. Try it both sides as well. You can also do this left side. You can also circle it the other way. Okay, you just want the hips to move this way. Right, that's it. Okay, good. Right. That's it. Perfect. It's actually really easy once you kind of get it. The hard part is the hard part is doing this with big movements. That's why I like these simple exercises, because I get that's the feel for what it should. That's what it should feel like. The good thing is this also do the wrong way as well. So like that kind of movement. If I do that also, if you imagine doing it with a heavy weight for a long time, I always think with these exercises, how long can I do this for? So I think I want to do it the most efficient way. If I could do it for like 30 minutes, it's probably in the right area. If I can only do it for like 30 seconds, probably not super efficient. Just put it there. And just play very gently now, just shifting the feet. So you're going to keep that motion. You want to keep that feeling of the hips manipulating the sword, and then just play with, not so much stepping, just transferring the weight. Well, it is stepping. Stepping is transferring the weight, but just adjusting the feet. But nothing kind of specific, just the idea of being able to shift it, shift the weight, but just try and keep that sense of the connection with the hips. And you don't even have to step, you can just think about kind of shifting the weight in the feet. Right. Yeah, exactly. And the hard part again is like keeping that connection now, especially in movement. Try not to let the hands take over at all. Keep the shoulders really low, heavy, elbows down. That's it. Good. Nice. There's obviously loads of kind of areas you can take this. We'll play with one which is going into a kind of cut, 𝒂𝒂𝒿, but nothing kind of big. So what you want to just focus on is now stepping out with the foot. What you do with the feet is like kind of pleat with them. So you're going to work like 1, 2, 1, 2. So again, it's just like a shift of the weight, like you're cutting not quite 90 degrees, somewhere like 60 degrees or something. But what you want now is the sense that let that roll come up and just dropping into the hip. And then as you release it, shift the weight, roll it up, coming down with it. So it's not like a big full cut, but it's just getting the feeling of raising, sinking into the feet. You can do this also backwards as well. The easy one is like forwards, but just play with that sense of like shifting the weight, raising, dropping, shifting the weight, raising, dropping. If you can keep that feeling of the hips, basically powering the movement. Dropping in. Dropping in. So that's it. Right. Good. Great, and then taking this now to the full cut. So the kind of key for this, or one of the things, is this sense that you take the inside of the right hand towards the top of the head this way. Think about like a classic like 𝒊𝒏𝒕𝒂𝒕 position. But in this case, you've got this kind of circular movement passing through. So again, the key thing is getting the hips, the waist, everything kind of driving the sword up this way. So think as well, sinking and raising the sword that way, sinking, raising, and then drop it in. And then yeah, just play with, once you've got that, you can either kind of just stick here, so the sense that I can raise it, drop it with the hip, boom, boom. And you can also start to switch sides with it. You can play with, like, once you've got that feeling, very simple steps. Like key is each time now you're going to find the top of the head, boom, 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 boom. But you're trying to put a groove in the top of your hairline. Bam, 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 bam. Right. Or head.
Okay, about
be more inclusive. Into your scalp. Right. Set it. Yeah, that's it. Perfect. Yeah, exactly. Good. That's it. And spend a little bit here also with rotating work. So again, you've got that sense of, if you can capture that spiral, that, and then take it to this kind of movement. But again, just use the center of the head as the kind of, for the kind of center line for the movement. You want that sense that you're dropping into the rotation with the hips behind the cut. You can play with the foot, you can do a lot of things with this, but the key thing now, that sense of as you enter into the rotation. Raising, keeping everything low. Raising the sword, but dropping the feeling through the ground. Think about the clearest example with this is the Taijutsu. Think about the entry into the Shihanagi. So as you go into it, that sense of wow, your structure's right underneath it. So the technique's kind of done. You've got the person hopefully in the right position. But that kind of feeling. Gauge the hips there. Right. Right. Good. Well, so we'll play with also these three kind of entries as well. So you've got, again, we'll focus on the kind of the biggest one, which is the 𝒂𝒊𝒏𝒈. So what I want you to feel now is you're going to kind of take like 3 steps in, if you can, with the space. Take like 3 steps in, and then what I want you to feel is that someone's coming in and attacking straight down the center line. So what your aim is here is as you come in, to shoot to the back, cut to the back of the head this way. So again, you're looking to really change the aspect right into space, but just do it from this point where you're kind of in kamae, and do it with like 1, 2, 3, and then spiraling cut to the back. So, and using that same coordination of the arms from the center line, from the hip. Sorry, trying to really. 1, 2, 3. That's it. Good. That's it. Yeah, the tendency with this one, it's not wrong, it's kind of going slightly to the other side. Think that you're going to use the right foot in this one. So you're going to, as you step in, so the steps kind of like 1, 2, and then when you're on the right foot here, have the feeling that you can press from the back foot, sink into the back, and then cutting down with it. So in this one, you're going to rotate over the left side with the right foot coming in. And then you're going to finish the cut on in this one on the right side. Just kind of coordinating the feet in this case from this position. So here, and then feel you can enter that way with the right foot. Right. Yes. Yeah. Whoa. Whoa. Great, we'll take this into like a Shikanaya movement now. So you've got the same thing, just flowing like stepping into it. Now in this one, what I want you to feel like, again, the right foot advances. This, you can do this 2 ways. You can come up first with it, kind of meeting it up, and then wedge out, and then come into the strike to the back with the right side. Or if you're kind of comfortable with that, what you can also do is just go straight into the slice this way with the body. The feeling kind of the same. You want that same feeling that I'm kind of entering in, slicing and cutting to the back this way. And just play with a little bit of motion coming into it, meeting 1, 2, and then you've got coming up, and then opening the hip back. And still using that same connection through from the center to the hip, or from the hips to the hands. Hip to tip of sword. It's a slightly different application. I'll show you the last one just because we know that's how much time. So the last one is working like kotegaeshi. So this one's directly at the wrist. So there's a few ways you can do this. What I want you to think about as this one is what you're looking to is as the cut comes in, you're looking to slice the wrist and then control it at the top. So this one looks like this. You come off, wedge off to the side. You're going to twist the hip in with the sword this way. This, and then as it comes up, you're going to slam down onto the wrist with it. So you go like 1, 2 with the sword. So it's like 1, 1, 1, 2. Again, that same kind of interaction with the hip and the hands, just slightly different in terms of the technical kind of details. Again, it just goes back to that kind of that and that. And then in this case, there's a little bit of a 1, boom, 1, boom. And in terms of the movement in this one, you're kind of coming in, and the right foot you're slightly wedging out, and then dropping into the wedging into it. That's it. Perfect. Good. Wow. Great, let's things up. Just play with all of them. So again, it just goes back to that kind of feeling, and integrating the footwork to it, changing the footwork a little bit each time, but keeping that sense that you can really manipulate the sword from the hips, and then just work with all these different kind of movements. So there's tons more that you can kind of play with as well. So. Yeah. Okie dokie, great. We will stop. Very good. Okay. Domo arigato. Alright. Great, perfect.